Hi, boys and girls. I'm so glad you're back with me again today to study this lesson about Moses approaching Pharaoh for the first time. Oh, you're going to enjoy this lesson because I even have some video clips for you to see. And it's found in chapters 5 through 10 of Exodus. You remember when God spoke to Moses out of the burning bush and told him to go back to Egypt and tell Pharaoh to let his people go. And Moses said, well, who will I say sent me? Do you remember? God told him, tell them I am has sent me to you. Well, why did Moses not know God's name? Because he did not have the Bible like we do, so he couldn't open it up and see what his name is. So Moses and Aaron go right straight to the leaders of the Israelites and give them the wonderful news that God's going to set them free from slavery. Oh my goodness, they're so excited. Then the next thing they do is they go to Pharaoh and they tell him what God has said. Well, this just makes Pharaoh angry. Let's see.
Who is this God that I should let your people go?
Aaron.
Oh yes, Aaron, I'll let you do this miracle.
He may see the power of God. In this you shall know that the Lord is God.
Okay, boys and girls, I can't watch this. I hate snakes. If you hate them too, you probably need to close your eyes.
Nothing of his will harm you, my son.
Power of your God is a cheap magician's trick. Janice.
More snakes.
Janice, do you see?
Moses' serpent swallows up the others.
Glad that's over. Well, this just what Pharaoh does in his anger is he just makes the Hebrews work twice as hard. Well, this upsets the Hebrews because they're beginning to wonder, maybe God didn't send Moses after all. Pharaoh didn't set us free. He just made us work twice as hard. So God tells Moses and Aaron to go back to Pharaoh, and let's see how this one works. This one I can watch.
There, where he struck the river. It bleeds. The water turns to blood. Blood flows from the gods. See how it spreads. It is blood. That you may know the power of the Lord. For 7 days Egypt will thirst. 7 days without water will fill every jug and jar. Pestilence will be everywhere.
For it's 7 times 7 days. No magician's trick will set your people free.
Remember, they worshiped the Nile River, and they also considered Pharaoh
Sacred water,
to be a god.
make pure the flood from which you came.
Now he's made a fool out of Pharaoh and also made a fool out of the Nile River being a god. Wow, he is very angry because he was embarrassed before the Egyptians. Well, he refuses again not to let the people go. And so God is about to unleash 10 horrible plagues upon Egypt because he wants all the Egyptian people to know who is God. So Moses goes before Pharaoh and tells him that God is about to smite the whole territory of Egypt with frogs. And it says, the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into your house, into your bedroom, on your bed, into the houses of your servants, on your people. Oh, can you imagine frogs being on you? Into your ovens and into your kneading bowls. Or in other words, every time your cooks start to cook, it's full of frogs. The flour, oh, everything. It was horrible. Can you imagine pulling back your sheets to get into bed? It's full of frogs, and you can't sleep because they're everywhere. They're on you everywhere. Well, Pharaoh's had enough of it, and he tells Moses, okay, I'll let your people go if you'll just get rid of the frogs. So God does that. He gets rid of the frogs, but he doesn't make the frogs disappear. The frogs die. And so the Egyptians gather them all together in heaps, and the land stank. Oh, because the frogs died out of all the houses, out of the courtyards, out of the fields. Heaps and heaps and heaps of dead frogs. Boys and girls, have you ever smelled a dead animal? Just one. Can you imagine heaps and heaps of dead frogs in that hot sun? How horrible the land must have smelled. But Pharaoh still refused to let his people go. So the next thing is the death of the cattle. All the livestock of the children of Israel, not one died. And Pharaoh sent, and indeed not even one of the livestock of the Israelites was dead. That's in verse 7 of chapter 8. Then he sent the plague of boils. Boys and girls, I doubt any of y'all have seen a boil. It's a horrible, horrible, festering sore on your body. And when I have 4 brothers and sisters, and when one of my brothers was little, I remember he got one on his knee, and that poor kid could not even walk because of that one on his knee. He couldn't straighten out his leg. He couldn't stand on it. Now, can you imagine those all over your body? He tells Moses and Aaron, take handfuls of ashes from a furnace and scatter it toward the heavens in the sight of Pharaoh. And it will cause boils that will break into sores on man and beast throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils, for the boils were on the magicians and on all of the Egyptians. Then the next plague was hail. Boys and girls, I know some of you have been through hailstorms, but you've never been through one like this. Now, these are pictures of some recorded hailstorms in some of them were in 1986, and some of the pictures were in the year 2000. You can go to YouTube, you can go to YouTube and see videos of it. You can also go to Google Images and see the images. It caved the roof in on an entire big mall, and the people had to be evacuated. Well, in Exodus the 9th chapter, so there was hail and fire mingled with it, so very heavy that there was none like it in all the land of Egypt since it became a nation. And the hail struck throughout the whole land of Egypt, all that was in the field, both man and beast, and the hail struck every herb of the field and broke every tree of the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were, there was no hail. Now, there are pictures of hailstorms that have broken trees, have destroyed houses. Look at the big holes in that car windshield and the big dents on that hood. Now, could you imagine the hailstorm that God brought down? Then the locusts went up over the land of Egypt and rested on all the territory of Egypt. They were very severe. Previously there had been no such locusts as they, nor shall there be such after them. In other words, the world had never seen a swarm of locusts like this before or after it happened in Egypt. Now, back in the, I believe it's the early 1930s, during the Depression, there was a huge locust storm in the United States, and it devoured all the crops in certain states of the United States. For they covered the face of the whole earth, and it was so many of those locusts that the land was darkened, and they ate every herb of the land and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left. So there remained nothing green on the trees or on the plants of the field throughout all the land of Egypt. Locusts will just strip every vegetation. Still, Pharaoh would not allow the children of Israel to leave. And the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, darkness which may even be felt." That means it was so dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, and the darkness was heavy that you could just feel it. So Moses stretched out his hand toward heaven, and there was thick darkness in all the land of Egypt for 3 days. And they did not see one another, nor did anyone rise from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. Well, boys and girls, that's 9 of the plagues. Next week, we're going to study about the 10th plague, something that you'll never forget. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you learned something special. I hope you learned that there's only one God, and I hope you learn how powerful our God is. So come back next week for our next lesson. Teachers, clip art and gifts came from Google Images, and a lot of the clip art that I got came from freebibleimages.org. Movie clips came from YouTube, and you can rent or buy the entire movie, The Ten Commandments. You can see that whole movie of those clips that I showed you, and you can get that at Amazon.com. I believe it's $3 to rent it, and $10 you can buy it to own it. Bye-bye, teachers and boys and girls. I look forward to seeing you again next week.